addressing that quote that says Buddhism is not for believers, but for the wise who sees reality with understanding. 2 points around that. Well, first one, just putting it a bit differently, is that actually the point with Buddhist teachings and practice is to make people who as a majority are believers because they are meant to be that way from the education, brainwashing, cultural conditioning system that they are born in, and from that time they are born, they are actually conditioned to believe what others are told. Of course, as an innocent child, you don't know better than getting affected by the people around you, and then especially, and that's the point again of this society or this system, to get you into the education system as soon as possible, exactly to hinder you to have a proper childhood and develop properly in tune with nature and the natural ways, is to erase as early as possible those capacities and to get you into the belief system, and again to make you a good Pavlovian dog, so that you will learn to respect the figures of authority and only believe what they tell you. As much as now there is enough around online, on internet, and studies that shows that there has been a huge organized lie for generations through the education system, and of course the governments, who are always lying to you about facts, as corrupt as they are everywhere, the same. And that's why ultimately they condition you and brainwash you to believe that false identity that you are given, which has nothing to do with the natural laws, universal laws of existence and life. And that's why you become just a basic believer, and ultimately, as some quote online say very clearly, unfortunately, a lot of the violence and wars are organized around that, which is that you develop some kind of a narcissistic, individualistic, and nationalistic or patriot mindset, exactly to confirm that the brainwashing has worked well, and to make you just a believer. And that's what it means, that you have become a good sheep who only repeats as you are told by the system, what you hear by those people who want to have full control. And of course, again, I will refer to George Carlin. He has been exposing that so clearly in his famous skits about that. They want to develop a human being who is going to be a good producing slave to sustain the economic system. So, as they say, just smart enough, make you think that you are smart, but just smart enough to get the few diplomas so you can have a career or whatever, a job, to sustain that capitalist economic system, to enrich the rich who control this world. But definitely make sure that you are not smart enough to really question enough and have the ability, the mindset to start to rebel really against that. Of course, a few do, but only a few, right? At the end. That's why this system works the same everywhere in the world. So basically, of course, they make sure that you become a good sheep and that is a good believer. And then after, you spend the rest of your life, as they say, trying to defend so strongly that fake made-up identity as far as gender, color, race, national pride, culture. Every time you say this is my this and my that and my that, and this is such a low level of existence, such a very ignorant way to live life, to try to defend that made-up identity that you have been made to believe that you are. Anyway, and in that sense, and that's the point, Buddhism and the Buddhist practice is exactly opposite of all the other religions, which again are made of believers in what they are told. Here you are told to put something in practice yourself, to check for yourself what makes sense or not, but to take you out of the dumb sheep believer nature and identity that you have developed into discovering more the truth of existence, of your true nature, according to the laws of the universe and life. So it's not exactly that Buddhism is for the wise one in that sense. I mean, if you're already wise, good for you, but the point exactly is to try to develop intelligence and wisdom, awareness and wisdom within you, to get you out of the basic believer nature that any society in this world wants you to be, even though each one tried to make you believe again that you are different, that in this country is this culture which is different or better, and this religion is better than the other religion, blah, blah, blah. But of course it's all crap. It's all lies, as usual. I mean, it's made up by ignorance with charisma, who managed to convince enough people and the masses. Anyway, so that's what Buddhism is about, to try to get you out of that low life level of only believing, thus repeating, thus making you a good agent for fascism, fascist ways that every government and country and culture is doing. Because again, from some other quotes you can find online, then it becomes the herd, right? The herd mentality. And if you dare to question, dare to not repeat blindly what your culture or government or authority tells you as a blind believer, then you are, finger pointed by the other sheep, right? You become the black sheep and you stand out, and the herd doesn't like that. And that's unfortunately how it works for the majority of people in the majority of the countries, so-called countries in the world. Again, all these notions go against the real nature of life. And again, you can see those pictures, like if you take things in perspective and you go out in space and you look at the planet Earth, you can see how this is such a nonsense madness, right? Human nonsense madness. Moha, as we say in Buddhism, moha is the madness of the regular human, the delusional mind which concerns more than 99% of the humans, exactly for the fact that they like to define themselves by their beliefs instead of the true reality of existence and life. And the system has made sure that you have not the capacity anymore to exactly take that distance and that perspective out of that, to see a bit what's going on, and that you are not what they make you believe you are. And as I've said, of course, to people, again, when they want to ask me some questions about Buddhism or the practice and the teachings, and typically exactly, some of them will start the question by, do you believe that? Then I stop them at once right there. Exactly my point. I don't live by belief anymore, at least. Anyway, everything is crystal clear for me about life, existence. I have experienced that truth, and of course, any smartass around who thinks so high of themselves will want to say, well, this is your truth. How would you say that this is the truth? And that's the eternal question. But again, when you look at things from a perspective and how these people who are trying to throw a smart argument like this, how they live their life, then the reality is pretty clear. They are still in the believers category, of course, and that's why they automatically have this conditioned reflex of sending that argument back. But once you have experienced that ultimate truth of existence, thanks to the Buddhist teachings or deep meditation, it can be from also like proper yogic practice, but it's around that, versus the other religions who just really want believers. I mean, again, we can debate on some things around that. There is a documentary out there called Jesus Was a Buddhist Monk. So the basic preachings of Jesus were also aligned with the proper values like that. But what organized religion has become like that. And I mean, I'm talking about, again, the proper Buddhist practice and teachings, because in so-called Buddhist cultures, yes, the same thing happens. That actually, most of the people, even though they mean to know the Dhamma, it's only because they repeat what they have been told. Because, of course, in those cultures, they are taught the Dhamma or the Dhamma values, Buddhist values, since they are kids. And after it becomes, unfortunately, repeating out of blind belief, even though it can make sense that those values are right or correct, but that's why they cannot live up to those values, because it's just out of blind belief, repeating what they are told, but not out of the proper experience of that ultimate truth and those values that makes Buddhism or the Buddhist teaching. But in one way, that was the first long point and blending with the second, but just to say that also the main point of the teaching of the Buddha, again, opposite of most other religions, is that it is taught to practice, at least just practice what it is said, but you don't have to believe blindly. And the main point is that you have to experience for yourself that ultimate truth. Buddhism means, proper Buddhism and teachings means to give you those tools and practice to allow you to go deeper into your true nature and access that ultimate truth of the universal laws and nature's laws, which you are part of, and that's why your nature is part of that. It's nothing to do with that ego-based personality or individuality that many people are proud to sustain. But again, this is actually made up and fake out of beliefs. But that's why Buddhism is not for believers, because you are asked to only put something in practice and see for yourself. And that's all. And if you don't agree, if some things don't work, it's fine, That's the proper Buddhist teachings. Not to believe, but really practice. That's why we have also all those quotes again that even though there are many scriptures, right, many speeches of the Buddha collected in the Tipitaka, the Pali Canon, 84,000 discourses, speeches, at the end, nothing matches the practice, of course. As much as many think they know and understand Buddhism from reading those scriptures and intellectualizing, the main point of the Buddha is, and the Buddha's teaching is practice. Practice to check for yourself. And hopefully you can find that ultimate truth of existence, of everything, every phenomena, and your own nature included in that, as you're nothing more than just a phenomena in the space and time plane, that's all. And that's why you are ruled by the karmic laws and the universal laws, the true laws, and not those made up fictitious laws that each country developed, which again is to make you believe that those are the laws, but it's just all fake and made up. It's sort of fictitious play that every country, every government plays on the people now. Anyway, that's what it is. Proper Buddhism stands out that way because it doesn't ask you to believe, and it's not about blind faith and blind belief. But afterwards, if you start to put really in practice the teachings with the techniques, and you start to get some benefits, and you can develop some faith, but again, the proper meaning of faith in that technique, in that practice, then that will help a lot to develop further and go closer and closer to that ultimate truth, to develop that wisdom and to witness the true reality, ultimate reality of existence, life, of any phenomena.